The clock is ticking for the United Auto Workers and the Detroit Three to get a deal signed. Today, UAW President Shawn Fain will give an update on the state of negotiations. If no progress has been made, Fain is expected to announce new strike locations. And joining us with more insight into this situation is former Ford CEO and CNBC contributor Mark Fields. Mark, how dire is this situation getting right now for the automakers? What are they facing, and how desperate should either side be to kind of get a deal done?
Well, I don't think the automakers are desperate in any way or form right now. As you've seen from the approach that the UAW has taken, the selected strikes, the financial impact to these companies, I won't say is insignificant, but it's relatively minor given the limited scope of the strikes. Importantly, though, what people are not talking about is, even though it's not limited in a big way to the OEMs, the supply base is pretty shaky, particularly the Tier 2 and Tier 3 suppliers. In addition, Becky, there's still plenty of inventory out on dealer lots, which satisfies the dealers. At the same time, the union is striking some of the parts depots for Stellantis and for GM, and so that's making the dealers a little nervous right now. But, so far, I think it's not kind of code red. That being said, the OEMs want to get their workers, back into the plants to producing vehicles because, that's what fills the coffers.
What about the union side of things? I mean, by doing this targeted strike, they've also preserved more of their strike fund, maybe kept some of their workers from feeling the pain on some of these issues?
Yeah, from the UAW standpoint, as you know, their strike fund is over $800 million. So, I think Shawn Fain has been pretty effective in a very aggressive communication strategy, and also at the same time kind of channeling, if you will, the broader frustration of workers across the economy. Listen, at the end of the day for the union, I think for Shawn Fain, as he kind of thinks through this, first off, I think he's thinking, listen, I was elected as a reformer, so I have to show I'm getting tough with the automakers. I think he's also thinking, giving some of the other Teamsters contracts and things of that nature, he wants to make sure he's delivering a good contract for his rank and file, because the UAW has always thought of themselves as kind of the benchmark for labor in the U.S. And finally, for him, it's a business model issue, right? He wants to make sure he delivers a good contract because that will position the UAW, relatively speaking, better to go and unionize, some of the import plants. So I think those are the things that are driving him. And at the same time, for the automakers, it's really, how do you balance yesterday's strong profitability with tomorrow's realities and needs? And that's why, we'll see what's announced a little later this week. But I also think it's a good sign. It's been relatively quiet this week, which means both sides are at the table.
What's a deal look like that satisfies both sides to some extent?
Well, it's a great question, Becky, right? Because at the end of the day, on the automaker side, we'd always think about these contracts as, what is the victory speech for the head of the union so that you can get ratification after you get a tentative agreement. And I think on the automaker side, a winning agreement is, listen, they know that their workers deserve a raise, but they want to do it in a way that, doesn't chain them to costs that cripples their competitiveness, particularly on the EV side. So I think you'll see pretty robust wage gains, maybe some movement on cost of living adjustments. I think, from the union standpoint, what Shawn Fain has to think through is, listen, I think they're going to come through with very nice economics to the workers. He's been pushing, we want to be able to organize these battery plants. And for the automakers, that's a really no-go, as well as a number of the other kind of non-wage asks around defined pensions and improved health care, things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing all comes out. And, finally, both sides need to strike a fair deal, but you can't have a negotiation where you're not talking about competitive realities, because we've seen this movie before, Becky, back in the late 70s, early 80s in the UK, where the British unions didn't really care about the competitiveness of their employers. And that's why manufacturing as a percent of, GDP in the UK went from, over 30% in the 70s to now below 10%.
Well, do you think Shawn Fain has that understanding or not?
Well, I think he realizes, listen, the business model of a union is more membership. right? Because with more membership, you get dues, more paying dues, but also you get more political clout. But, you know, where's the win for the UAW if your employer becomes uncompetitive and ultimately gets marginalized over time?
But that's what I mean. That's a logical way of looking at it. Do you think Shawn Fain is looking at it that way, or do you think that this has become a bigger issue? Some people have described it almost as a holy war of sorts. Do you think there's an
well, yeah, it could be a holy war, but it could be a holy war. I mean, he's citing some biblical quotes in some of his live streams. But listen, at the end of the day, it's all about the members, right? And if the automakers are coming through with strong compensation, and, you know, Shawn Fain has to think about that because, you know, from his standpoint, he's got to satisfy his members. And if he's holding up the negotiations because of, you know, future battery plants that haven't even been built or employees haven't even been hired yet, that's a bit of a tough sell to his rank and file who, you know, are worried about, you know, how they're going to make ends meet, particularly the ones that are on strike.